Hello, what's up YouTube, ronnixphotography, and this is going to be a very short tutorial whereby you're going to be understanding skin retouching from the very start to the very end. And if at all you find this helpful, don't forget to hit the like button on this video so that YouTube can push this to most people or to many people out there who are interested in learning about skin retouching in the shortest way possible. So what you should understand in this tutorial, we're just going to be understanding frequency separation, and we just want to handle it from the very start to the very end. I'm just going to come, and as you know, frequency separation divides the image into two layers, that is the high frequency layer and the low frequency layer. And the high frequency layer contains the textures and the details, and the low frequency layer is going to be containing the colors and the skin tones. You're just going to come to the background and just select it and hit Ctrl Command J twice. And the version I'm using, or the application I'm using, is Photoshop 2020. I'm going to come to, after making those two layers, just come and rename this to low frequency, and I'm going to name this into high frequency. And after doing this, I'm just going to come to the low frequency layer and turn off the high frequency layer. And now come and select the low frequency layer, and first of all blur out or remove the details from this low frequency layer so that you can remain with the colors and the skin tones. And in order to do that, you're just going to come right here to filter, blur, and come down to Gaussian blur. And when you come this, just come and look at the image. So you have to zoom in and look for an area that has prominent details than the rest of the skin, meaning when we blur out or when we lose out on these details, the rest of the details that are not more prominent are going to be lost out from the image completely. So just come the radius. You don't have to cram this radius further, because different cameras or different photos are going to be having different levels of details and sharpening, or different photos may be taken using different camera sensors or different cameras that have varying megapixels, and the level of sharpness or detail may be differing from one image to another. Just come to the radius and just move this towards the right hand side. So just move until you're starting to lose out on the details or these prominent details in the photo. So I'm just going to take this. So at around 7, that is when I'm losing out on the details. So your radius value may differ from image to image and how close or how far the image is. So just come and hit OK, and you're going to come to the high frequency layer, and now come and activate it by clicking on the eye icon, then come to image and come down to apply image. And since this is a 16-bit image, you have to come and choose the layer from which you're going to be subtracting the details. So that is the low frequency layer. So just come and select the layer below. Make sure the low frequency layer is selected. The channel is RGB, and the blending mode for a 16-bit image is going to be add, opacity at 100, preserve transparency and mask are not checked. The scale is 2 and offset 0. Make sure you turn on the invert option, and you can see that the details are going to be on this gray kind of layer. And if at all you have an 8-bit image, like you can see 8 right here, just come and make sure invert is not on. Change the blending mode to subtract, opacity at 100, preserve transparency and mask are not checked. The scale is 2 offset 128, and you'll have the same results. But since I'm dealing with a 16-bit image, just come and make sure you select the low frequency layer, channel RGB, and now the blending has to be add. Make sure invert is checked, and now the scale is 2 offset 0, opacity at 100%, preserve transparency and mask are not checked, and simply hit OK. And you can see details are on this gray kind of layer. So just want to reveal back the details or the original image, and that is going to be achieved by changing the blend mode from normal and changing it down to linear light. So just come to linear light and select it. So meaning we have successfully divided the image into the colors and the details. We're just going to come and select both layers and hit Ctrl Command G on the keyboard to group our frequency separation layers, and we are going to rename this after double clicking to frequency separation and hit enter. So this is what we have, and as we are doing the retouching, you have to ensure that every single time you are maybe selected on a layer and the tool is showing this cross-like icon you can see on the screen, I hope you can see it, make sure you turn off the caps lock key to see the tool the way it was meant to be in Photoshop. Make sure you work with the caps lock key turned off. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to start blending or evening out the skin tones, and this is where you have to pay maximum attention. Remember, when you're doing skin retouching, we usually come and we work with the low frequency layer or the layer that is containing the colors or skin tones. Reason being, we just want to create even skin tone transitions within the different colors in the image. So just come to the low frequency layer and select it. So this is the layer we are basically going to work on, and when it is time to remove the blemishes or the skin imperfections, we can come to the layer that is containing those blemishes, that is the high frequency layer. But for the meantime, we just want to come and we work on the low frequency layer. So just come to the brushes and simply right click and get what you can see as a mixer brush tool. So it is a mixer brush tool, and now make sure you set it the best way possible. And if at all you have older versions of Photoshop, you may be able to find your mixer brush tool right down here. And now in order to set this brush, make sure it is the hardness at 0% and it is a clean brush. And make sure we have two options right here. Make sure the second one has been selected and it is highlighted, meaning we just want the brush to be automatically cleaned as we're trying to blend or even out the transitions within the skin tone. The weight I'm going to be using is 9%, the load is 75, mix 90, flow 100%, and make sure sample all layers is not ticked or not checked, because when you check this sample all layers, it means that you're going to be painting every information even from the high frequency layer, and you paint it in the low frequency layer. Let me just show you that. So when you start painting on the skin, you can see it creates that roughness, meaning it is also borrowing information from the high frequency layer, and which we don't want. So we're just going to undo that by hitting Ctrl Command G on the keyboard. Make sure sample all is not selected, because we only want to work on the low frequency layer. So right now what we want to do, we're just going to start blending or evening out the skin tone transitions. And in order to see that quite well, you can come and create a black and white layer on top of the high frequency layer, or you can as well turn off the high frequency layer so that you can see the colors in the image in real time. So you're just going to come and now slightly zoom in. That looks okay. And now start painting or evening out the transitions within the skin tone. You can see we have that uneven skin tone transitions in various areas of the image. So you're simply going to left click and paint through the colors that look alike in this photo, and just blend them and just harmonize them. So as you're doing this, you're going to notice that the image is going to turn out to look a little bit plastic, but that shouldn't be your biggest concern or worry, because you have turned off the texture or high frequency layer. So make sure you turn it off and you work. And the more plastic the image looks when you have turned off the high frequency layer, the better the results you're going to be getting out of your skin retouching. So just come and start painting and just paint colors that look alike. And when you come where the areas are just transitioning, just paint that area so that you can have a smoother and finer transition within the colors in those varying skin tone areas. So just come and paint, and you can see I'm moving my brush in accordance to the shape of the face. So make sure you take that into consideration, and you have to keep on reducing the size of mixer brush tool by using the box brackets or the open and close brackets on your keyboard. And the left one, the open, is going to reduce the size, and the close is going to increase on the size of your mixer brush tool. So just come and paint through to even out those transitions, and come to other areas and blend. For example, right here on the cheek area, just come and blend those areas just like that. Reduce on the size and you work on even a smaller area so that you can have a better and more refined transition within the skin color, just like that. Come to this other side of a shadow on the nose area and blend those colors, and you can come and work on this highlight separate or alone or independent, and just come to this other side and also work on that area just like that. You can see how I'm taking the strokes of my mixer brush tool. It is how the area is shaped and how that area, all the colors in that area are moving. You can see right now they're moving in an up down kind of movement. And reduce on size and I work right here. You can see I'm moving my brush in that kind of direction to work or blend or even out the transitions quite better. And I'm just going to do this quick so that we don't spend a long time, because I just want to cover everything in the shortest time possible for those that are always claiming that I spend a lot of time in the tutorials and I do so much of the talking. So I'm just going to do this and come to the chin area and just work on that. Remember, we have another technique that is going to refine the areas we may have accidentally missed out when you're trying to use the mixer brush tool. and I'm going to be showing that later on after we have used the mixer brush tool. So this is going to enable you to blend or have better transitions within the skin tones. And just zoom out and you work on the image in a proper or more defined area. So just come and do that, and come to this area and just fine tune those areas. Come to the neck area, make your brush smaller and just brush through those colors to harmonize or create that nice and transition. So just come and work on the hand area, because skin retouching works on the overall image and we don't want to only work on the face and we leave the hands out. So just come and work on the rest of the image. So I think this looks good and perfect to me. So when you turn on the high frequency, you can see what we have just done using a mixer brush tool, and that's the before and after just so far. So just want to fine tune or get better results from this image by using the lasso tool technique. So just come to this tool that is like this and make sure you select it, and make sure new selection mode has been activated and the feather is 22 pixels or between 20 and 25, because as we are selecting the skin area, we just don't want to create those rough lines that are going to result from the selection of the skin area, meaning we just want a smoother kind of selection. That's why the feather is going to be around 22 or between 20 and 25 pixels, and alias has been selected, and make sure a new selection mode has also been activated, and just come, we just want to refine the areas we may have missed out when we are using our mixer brush tool to even out the skin area. So just make a shape the way the area is really shaped, and just come to filter, blur, and come down to Gaussian blur, and when you click that, you can see we have the default for our when we are separating the frequencies of the image, and just come and move the radius up to a point when you feel like you have the base out of the skin, and around 21 we have the base details. And I can just share with you a hack that I use for most of my images. So remember, we had the radius of 7, so whichever radius you may have used to separate the frequencies of the image, just multiply that radius by 3 and just type it in when you reach this step. So for this case I have 7, so 7 by 3 is 21. I'm just going to type in 21 and hit OK, and just apply this to the rest of the overall image. So this is going to be more of a technique that is going to fine tune the image or make it even look better. Just come and draw those shapes, and how I'm drawing the shapes is the way a particular area has been shaped. So I'm just going to come and work on this other area. Right click and come to Gaussian blur. When you feel like effect is too much, simply right click on that selection and come to fade Gaussian blur and just reduce on the opacity. So that is how we use our lasso tool when you're trying to do skin retouching. So just come right click and come to Gaussian blur and come to this other side of the nose, and when it comes to the nose area, apply it on different areas depending on how light or how bright the area is. So just right click, and don't apply it on the overall nose, because that is going to make the nose look a little bit bigger and flat. So when it comes to the highlight area in the nose area and you just want to apply it, just make a selection and apply the Gaussian blur, and as you apply it to full intensity, the highlight is going to disappear. So I would recommend that you always reduce or fade that Gaussian blur effect and take it all the way down and hit OK. And now just want to apply it onto the overall image. For example, right here, right click and come to Gaussian blur and come to this other side and also apply that effect onto that area. Come to the chin area and also come and apply it right on the chin area, and just do that. So I only prefer to use this only on the chin area, and I don't want to work with it on the rest of the body, meaning, or why I do that is because the face usually has more skin details than the rest of the skin or the body. So the next thing is going to be, you can see the before and after. The next thing is going to be removing the blemishes, and the blemishes are part of the high frequency layer. So just come and select that layer that is containing the blemishes or the skin details, and come to the clone stamp tool. I prefer to use it when I'm using frequency separation. Just zoom in and look for those blemishes or skin imperfections, and we're just going to hold down the alternate key on the keyboard and sample. So alternate and left click to sample from a clean area and click over the blemish to get rid of it. So you have to sample close the blemish. So left click, alternate, left click, and copy skin from a clean area near the blemish, and simply release the alternate and simply left click to get rid of the blemish. So that is how I'm going to be removing these tiny blemishes or skin imperfections from this model's face, and we are almost done. And the next thing is going to be a little bit of dodging and burning to add shape or dimension to the model's face. And I'm just going to zoom out, and we are done doing skin retouching, and nothing is going to be adding shape or dimension using dodging and burning, and we're just going to do it globally. So just come and a brief information about dodging and burning. Dodging and burning is more of enhancing the highlights and the shadows in a given image. So just come to the adjustment layers and come to curves, and make sure that you click in the middle and darken. That is for the burning. So click in the middle and darken slightly, and make sure this layer mask is selected, and hit Ctrl Command I on the keyboard to hide or invert that in. And in Photoshop, when you do that, white is going to be revealing and black hides. That's what you should understand about layer masks in Photoshop. So this is going to be our burn, and we're going to do the same for the dodge. Just come to the curves adjustment layer, click in the middle and brighten. So dodging is brightening and burning is darkening. So make sure the white layer mask is selected. So just want to hide this information or effect from the image. Hit Ctrl Command I on the keyboard, and you're going to name this into dodge. So you're just going to come and select the burn layer mask, come under the brushes and simply right click and get our brush tool, a soft round brush, opacity and flow at 100%, and make sure white is on the foreground. In order to reset, click on these two small boxes and you have black and white, and you can use X on the keyboard to switch between black and white. So make sure white is on top and simply come and burn. So burn, you're just going to paint in the areas that have shadows, and dodging, you're just going to paint with a white brush and reveal what is hidden in the white areas or the highlights. So just going to come, hit Ctrl Command Z to undo. The opacity for this is going to be at around 10%. I forgot to tell you this. So just come and paint the areas that you feel should really be darkened. And what this does, it helps us to get more details or a three-dimensional look out of the image after doing skin retouching. Remember, oftentimes when you're doing skin retouching, it tends to flatten out the image. So this is going to enhance the details and make the image stand out and have that kind of three-dimensional feel added to it. So I'm just going to come and burn here too on the cheek area. So just going to come to the dodge and also enhance the highlights, and for the cheekbone just enhance that, and come this other side and also enhance these highlights. Reduce on the size and come to the cheek or the chin area and also brighten those areas. So we are done doing the dodging and burning. Let's put these two in a group and hit Ctrl Command G on the keyboard. When you feel like it is too much, just simply reduce on the opacity of the overall group. So let's say before and after dodging and burning, before, after, before, after. So what we're going to do next is going to be eye whitening, and we're just going to create a stamp visible layer or a screenshot for everything below by hitting Shift Alternate Command E on the keyboard, or Shift Alternate Control E on the keyboard, and you're going to create a stamp visible layer, and just come to filter, camera raw filter, and just come to that. And the next thing is going to be simply whitening the eyes and teeth. So zoom into the eyes and come and get the adjustment brush tool, and make sure you turn the temperature down because we just want to get rid of the yellows in the white area of the eye. So just take this down to around -25, and since we have greens in the white area of the eye, the opposite of green is magenta. So take this to the magenta side to around 60, and make the highlights around 4 and the whites to around 5, and take this down the saturation of the brush to remove the rest of the random colors by taking it down to around -62, and simply left click and you paint through the white area. So only make sure you paint in the white area and don't paint on the skin, because that is going to desaturate the skin. So make sure you only paint through what you feel should be white in the image, and just come this other side and also paint through just like that in the white area, just like that, and it's going to be whitening the eyes. And you're going to zoom into the teeth, Control Command plus, and use the space bar to move or hover around the image, and you can just come to the teeth and whiten them and simply hit OK. So we're done doing skin retouching and eye and teeth whitening, and the next thing is going to be color grading. And for this case, I'm just going to be using my KC skin tone lights that are going to color grade this image first. And if at all you're interested, make sure to check the links in the description of this video and you purchase and buy them to make your color grading faster in Photoshop. I'm just going to come down to my color lookup and I'm going to come to load 3D LUT and click right there, and I'm going to see what works best for me. So let me try out 4 and I see the look it gives me. I think I prefer 4. Let me just try out 5. I see what it is going to offer. Let me see 5. 5 looks good, and I'm just going to use 5 for this case, and I'm reducing the opacity because it is a little bit too much, and at around 59 we are good to go. This is the before after. So basically this is how to do high-end skin retouching from the start to the very end in the shortest time possible. And the next thing is going to be exporting or saving the image so that it doesn't change in color and we have a sharp image at the end of retouching. So just come to file, export, and come to export as, and the next thing is going to be simply coming to these options. Make sure in the color space you have turned on or these two options. Make sure they are ticked. Convert to sRGB and also embed the color profile. And resample has to be by cubic sharper. The format JPEG and the quality 100%. And simply hit export. And after you have hit export, look for a folder whereby you want to save the image and just hit save, and it is automatically going to close this window. So this is all for this tutorial. And if at all you have found this helpful, don't forget to like this video, don't forget to subscribe this channel. If at all you have been watching from this channel and haven't hit the like button, Ronnix from Ronnix Photography. Thanks for watching and see you in yet more amazing tutorials, and don't forget to keep practicing and keep creating.